Shabbat Shalom. It's lovely to see you all here. There's a lot of printed out faces. I love it. There's a dog. I don't know whose idea the dog was, but great. A week ago today, approximately, all our eyes were on the Gulf. Hurricane Laura. She was out there. And we were stocking up on our non-perishable food, and we were gassing up our cars, even Sunday, Monday, into Tuesday. Any possible projectiles outside your house, just bringing them in, tacking them down, checking Space City weather updates every single time they issued one, as Laura became a more and more powerful hurricane. Because everyone here remembers Harvey. We remember Harvey. We know what it means when a hurricane destroys our city, our shul, and for many of us, our businesses and our homes. And even though we knew that Laura was going to be a wind event rather than a rain event, so to speak, plenty of folks here still remember storms like Ike. I've heard stories of people being without power for 10 days, for 2 weeks, no power. And all of our collective anxiety, which is already at a COVID level of high, spiked through the roof. It was even higher if that's possible. We watched weather reports. We waited for Laura to make up her mind. Would she wobble east or would she wobble west? And she wobbled east. With the result being that we felt nothing. Well, that's not exactly true. I sat in my living room on Thursday morning with all of my water around, my non-perishable food. I even brought in the plants from our balcony because I didn't want to take a chance, and I love those plants. I worked really hard. I didn't want them to blow away. So I'm surrounded by all this stuff, and I felt complicated. I was relieved, first of all, of course. I did not want to be without power in 95-degree heat with a baby who still drinks milk for weeks. No, thank you. And I remember, boy, howdy do I remember, the massive recovery effort after Harvey. A quarter of our members flooded. More than half our clergy, our staff, flooded. We had to put this building back together. We had to help our congregants with our own team at only half power, and our city was reeling. Do you remember you couldn't even get drywall for a time? You couldn't get doors because of the recovery and rebuild efforts. If your car flooded, hands up if your car flooded. There's a lot, yeah. You couldn't get it replaced right away. Why? Because the dealerships flooded and the rental lots. You bet I was relieved. I think we were all relieved when Laura decided to wobble east. But I didn't just feel relieved, and this is where it gets complicated. I felt a little guilty. There is an early Jewish legal teaching, something from the Mishnah, that says a person who is coming home on a journey, so they're not home yet, but they're on the way home, they're on the road, and they hear cries of distress coming from their neighborhood. They can't pray. They cannot say a prayer. Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will that these cries of distress that I hear, may it be God's will that those cries of distress not be coming from my own home. You can't say that prayer. You're actually not allowed. Why? Because it seems reasonable. You're not allowed to say that prayer because those cries of distress that you hear, whether they're from your home or they're from someone else's home, they're already happening. They're already happening. And you can't pray away reality. The week before Laura hit, even, I felt bad, kind of. I felt bad all week because all I wanted, all any of us really wanted, was that the storm go east. Because I'd been, and we all had been, in the nightmare of a hurricane slamming our city, and I didn't want it again. I didn't pray, hey God, send it over there, hit them. You know, I know the Mishnah. I know my Jewish legal writings. But I also knew that what I was hoping, what I was wishing, all I wanted hinged on the hurricane not hitting us. and by default, that means it was going to hit someone else. I didn't want anyone else to get hit. No one wants that. What kind of a monster? No one wants that. No one wants anyone else to go through what we went through. But isn't that also what the Mishnah is teaching? It's teaching if you hear cries of distress, you know someone somewhere is hurting. You can't pray, hey God, don't make it me and mine, don't make it me and mine, because that means that you're also praying, hey God, make it happen to someone else. Hey God, hurt someone else instead. Can't say that. Okay, Rabbi, you're so clever, you know your Mishnah. So what am I supposed to pray? What am I supposed to do, Rabbi? Well, I think of poor Joseph. Poor Joseph. Got a little bit messed with. His great-grandfather was Abraham, his grandpa Isaac, Jacob was his father, all became patriarchs. Poor Joseph, nothing. No credit. He doesn't get to be a patriarch. We don't say his name in the Amidah, nothing. Poor guy. Which is too bad because Joseph provided the perfect Jewish blueprint for disaster response. He did. It's in there. Like us with our radar, he knew something bad was coming. He did not have radar, true, but he did have dreams that were very accurate. And he had dreamed that there would be 7 years of plenty, more than enough food for everyone, followed by 7 years of plight, blight, starvation, as all the crops in Egypt would die, all around Egypt, everywhere. So what did he do? Well, for one, he prepared. Being prepared alleviates much of the pain of a disaster, we know well, and doing it ahead of time alleviates a lot of the anxiety. Not all of the anxiety, but a good amount. And what did he do after disaster struck? He threw open the grain silos, where he'd been stockpiling food for 7 years, and just like we recite at Passover, he said, all who are hungry, let them come and eat. When something terrible is imminent, we must prepare. We must help others prepare. And when disaster strikes, because it always does, hurricane, derecho, whatever, Judaism compels us to get up, to throw open the doors to our own resources, and to help others as we ourselves have been helped. That's what we can do. That is our prayer. We pray like Abraham Joshua Heschel prayed. We pray with our feet. We pray with our actions. We take actions to feed the hungry, to treat the sick. Hurricane Laura seems to have impacted mainly rural communities, and their damage will not make the news as damage from Harvey did. Rural communities don't sell so well, I guess. But there are folks out there, survivors who need even more help because of that, and they need help from people like us, people who know what it's like. I've seen some amazing work already coming out of lots of communities, out of our community. We're already organizing, people mobilizing donations because we know that money is best and moves and goes to where it needs to go and people can do and get what they need. Also, things, stuff, donations. Tomorrow at the JCC between 1 and 4 p.m., they're collecting donations to be brought out to Jews and non-Jews who are recovering from Laura. They're collecting household supplies, that's non-perishable food, personal hygiene items, cleaning items, baby food, diapers, wipes. It's also roof tarping supplies. They need waterproof tarps, they need nails, they need lumber. They have exact specifications of what they need, and if you want to know what those are, you can go to the ERJCC website or their Facebook page and drop off these items tomorrow between 1 and 4 p.m. at the JCC. 3 years ago, this Shabbat, we were hit with a hurricane that brought this city to its knees. And very slowly, we got back up. Through faith, through sheer force of our own hard work and our own will, and through the generosity of others, Jewish and non-Jewish, both exemplifying the words of the Torah, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So let us do the Jewish thing and show love to our neighbors to the east and give of our own resources to help all those who need help right now and cry out to God for it, because it is up to us to answer their cries. Shabbat Shalom.